Our international forum both on-site and online. Ladies and gentlemen, good day, and welcome to our Taiwan-Australia, Thailand MOU exchange ceremony, and this is also our skills transformation for post-pandemic workforce international forum. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, as the MC, to kick off our event today, I would like to take some time first to introduce our VIP guest. So, when introduced, please wave your hand and everyone a round of warm applause. 首先为大家介绍的是我们劳动部次长林参贵林次长。
Let's welcome the Vice Minister of the Ministry of Labor.
Taiwan Vice Minister Mr. Lin Cankui, welcome. 紧接着欢迎的是我们劳动力发展署署长施真养施署长，署长好。From Workforce Development Agency, Director General Madame Shi Chen-yang, welcome, Madame. Looking good. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our delegates from Australia. In fact, from the Australian office here in Taipei, welcoming Deputy Representative Mr. Michael Gugan. G'day, sir. Welcome, sir. Also from the same office, please welcome Senior Business Development Manager Jane Liu. Welcoming Jane. Hi, Jane. Manager of Policy Unit, also from Australian office in Taipei, Catherine Chu is joining us. Welcome, Catherine. And now welcoming our good friends and delegates from Thailand Trade and Economic Office. Please let us welcome, also with our applause, of course, Deputy Director and Acting Director Varatsuda Saradadha. Welcome, Madam. Welcome. Sadika. Thank you for joining us. And ladies and gentlemen, welcoming the Chief of Protection and Services for Thai National Section. Please welcome Surasiri Pramchana. Welcome, Madam. Thank you for joining us. And please welcome Secretary of Thailand Trade and Economic Office. Please welcome Virut Thai Prasurit. Welcome, sir. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Kapun Kap. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Planning Division of WDA Director Ho Song-yen. Ho Zuzang Ha. Welcome, Mr. Ho. Please welcome from Competency Standards and Skills Evaluation Division of WDA Director Xie Qingyun. Director Xie, welcome. Good day, sir. And now let us welcome from Training and Development Division of WDA Director Shen Wenli. Shen Zuzang, welcome. Zuzang hao. And the list goes on, okay? We have many, many guests with us here today. Now welcoming Taipei, Keelung, Yilan, Hualien, Kinmen, Matsu Regional Branch of WDA Director Lin Renzhao. Lin分署长，欢迎。Taoyuan, Hsinchu, Miaoli Regional Branch of WDA, we have with us Deputy Director Li Yanling, 副分署长，掌声欢迎。Thank you for joining us. Taichung, Zhanghua, Nantou Regional Branch of WDA, we have Deputy Director Liu Xiuzhen, 副分署长，欢迎。Yunlin, Jiayi, Tainan Regional Branch of WDA, we have Director Liu Bangdong, 分署长. Please welcome with our applause. Thank you for joining us. From Kaohsiung, Pingdong, Penghu, Taidong Regional Branch of WDA, we have Director Chen Taiyun, 分署长，掌声欢迎. Thank you for joining us. And now let us welcome from the Department of East Asian and Pacific Affairs from Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we have Assistant Director General Mr. Lei Yanfeng, 专门委员，掌声欢迎. Good day, sir. Thank you for joining us. And also we have from the National Development Council, Assistant Director General Cai Ruijuan, 专门委员，掌声欢迎. And now please welcome from Chinese Management Association, Secretary General Mr. Zhang Yushan, 秘书长，掌声欢迎. He will also be our chair for the panel discussion today. Ladies and gentlemen, those are our VIP guests on site. And we have online with us right here, online already, let us welcome TAFE Directors Australia, Mr. CEO, Mr. Craig Robertson. Craig, wave your hand. That's Craig right there. G'day, sir. And now let us welcome online from Thai German Institution, President Sumwong Ponrakcharon. Please welcome with our applause. Please wave your hand. Thank you for joining us. Sadikap. And now let us welcome from Skills and Employability Branch, Employment Policy Department of ILO, Professional Officer Hai Kun Chun. Please wave your hand. Thank you for joining us online. And now let us welcome from LinkedIn Senior Accountant Director. This is Madame Delora Yen joining us online. Thank you. And now let us welcome from VDAB Manager An Van Nuten online joining us. Thank you for joining us online. And last but not least, please welcome from VIDS MPI Vice President Pan Nyok Mai Pun. Waving to us right now. Thank you. Gamun, thank you for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, and now without further ado, I would like to welcome to address us. Please welcome from Taiwan Ministry of Labor, Vice Minister Mr. Lin Sangui to address us. 热烈掌声，我们恭请次长。次长好，次长好。
司署长，澳洲技职教育联盟执行长 Craig Robertson， 泰国泰德学院
Mr. Someone Barak Chorang from Thai German Institute, as well as representative of ILO, and also distinguished guests from Australia Office Taipei and Thailand Trade and Economic Office. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is an honor on behalf of the Ministry of Labor to attend today's Taiwan-Australia, Taiwan and Thailand MOU exchange ceremony and skills transformation for post-pandemic workforce international forum. Ministry of Labor emphasized and often pays great attention to cooperation between Taiwan and Asia Pacific and other countries. We have achieved a lot of results in respect of cultivating talents. We have also received recognition from the global community. Our southbound policy allow us to sign MOU with Australia and Thailand. We have established the Asia Pacific Capacity Building Center as well as the WSI Capacity Building Center. It allows us to cultivate talents for our country and other countries, as well as elevating our level of cooperation. WDA is going to sign an MOU with TAFE in Australia. At the same time, we will also sign a similar MOU with the Thai German Institute. This shows us that the three sides plans to strengthen professional training and talent cultivation through promotion of international cooperation in vocational and technical training. We are now in the post-pandemic period. Due to acceleration of automation and digitalization, we will see changes in the job market. Each country and its labor face tougher and challenging environment. We hope that through such cooperation, we can find new opportunities for strengthening our manpower and human resources. And that in this new period of post-pandemic period, that we can continue to develop and foster our relationship to a higher level. On behalf of the Ministry of Labor, I would like to thank Mr. Robertson and Mr. Somwan Barangcharon and all the distinguished guests from Australia and Thailand, as well as scholars, to attend today's ceremony. I wish today's ceremony and forum a success. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Vice Minister of Labor. From Ministry of Labor of Taiwan, Mr. Lin Sangui. 恭请次长，请在台上入座. Please be seated on stage. And now, ladies and gentlemen, to speak to us, let us welcome with our applause, Deputy Representative from Australian Office, Taipei, Mr. Michael Gugan. Good day, sir. Good day.
Thank you very much for that kind introduction. I should say g'day as well. So I appreciate the Australian greeting. Let me start by acknowledging my esteemed colleagues and guests, other guests who are here today. Vice Minister Lin, thank you very much for having me here today. Director General Shi, esteemed colleagues from the Thailand Trade and Economic Office here in Taipei, and to Craig Robertson as well, CEO of TAFE Directors Australia. So yes, as I said, it's my great honour to be here today to represent the Australian office at this exchange ceremony for the renewal of the Memorandum of Understanding. So this MOU is signed between TAFE Directors Australia and the Workforce Development Agency of Taiwan's Ministry of Labor. Of course, over the past year, COVID-19 has presented great challenges for all of us, including in the VET sector. Australia and Taiwan have weathered the challenges of the pandemic better than most. And confronted with these challenges, the renewal of this MOU that demonstrates the enduring strength of our collaboration and cooperation. The VET sector has grown to be an important part of the Australia and Taiwan education relationship. Australia is a world leader in vocational education and training, and in education more generally. You may not know, but Australia is the second most popular destination for Taiwanese students in the world after the United States. And the growth in enrolments by Taiwanese students is due in large part to VET students. This reflects the high quality of Australia's VET education sector, and also the recognition by Taiwanese students of the opportunities Australian education gives them to improve their skills and maximise their future employment opportunities. Having more Taiwanese students in Australia also helps these students to improve their English skills and helps Taiwan to achieve its bilingual 2030 goal, which I know is a particular priority of your President, President Tsai. Since 2013, Australia's TAFE Directors Australia, represented today by Mr. Craig Robertson, has been working with Taiwan's Workforce Development Agency to strengthen vocational education and training here in Taiwan. This project aims to improve the capacity of Taiwan's VET providers and streamline the vocational education and training structures. And of course, vocational education continues to evolve and adapt to the needs of our workforces. Recently, this includes critical skills such as digital literacy. By improving the digital literacy skills of our VET graduates, we enhance the competitiveness of our workforce. As the Vice Minister mentioned earlier, Australia and Taiwan's collaboration in the VET sector also extends to our cooperation in APEC. Taiwan, of course, plays, and as does Thailand and Australia, a very important roles in APEC, each of us as founding members of this organization. And through APEC, I hope that Australia and Taiwan can continue to cooperate to make it easier for vocational workers to move between all of the APEC members. And I note, Vice Minister, your mention of the Asia Pacific Capability Centre in this regard. The existing MOU has been an important part of the framework underpinning Australia and Taiwan's education cooperation. I also hope that we can work together towards mutual recognition of education certificates and qualifications between Australia and Taiwan to broaden the opportunities available to our people. With the renewal of the MOU here today at this exchange ceremony, I look forward to further supporting collaboration on vocational education between Australia and Taiwan over the next 3 years and beyond. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Deputy Representative Mr. Michael Gugan. Please be seated on stage. Thank you very much. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Deputy Director and Acting Director of Thailand Trade and Economic Office, Madame Salutuda Saradata, to address us. Please welcome with our applause.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us today. Mr. Vice Minister of Labor, Ms. Lin, and Ms. Shi, Director General of Workforce Development Agency, Mr. Michael Morgan, and our colleagues from Australia, Mr. Craig Robertson, CEO of TFE Director Australia, and Mr. Somwang Bunrakjalan, President of Thai German Institute. It's my great honor to be here with you on the occasion of the signing ceremony of the MOU between Taiwan, Thailand, and Taiwan, Australia on vocational education and training cooperation today. Well, as you all know, that Thailand is the most important element in driving our economic growth. And this is lead to the long-term economic and social progress. But however, we are now facing the dynamic and challenging situation like aging society and the digital transformation, and especially this time the pandemic of the COVID-19, which affect the insufficient of talent and the skilled workforce. But however, to cope with all circumstances, our goal should not be delayed. So I believe that all challenges will give us more opportunities in creating new measures and better solutions. So this is why the investment on vocational education training is very important. And the MOU we are going to sign today, I think, is a proof of our endeavors to achieve our goals. So I also believe that the Taiwan has also very complete and effective vocational and education and training system. So we can recognize you from the high rank in the very international competition and also the world skills. So I hope that the MOU we are going to sign today will give Taiwan, Thailand, and our partners more opportunities and valuable experience with our exchange of our expertise and information, as well as strengthen our vocational education training. So let us witness the laws of success today. And last but not least, I wish the international forum today and the signing ceremony a great success. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kapun Kam. Thank you, Acting Director. Please be seated on stage. 紧接着呢，我们恭请我们施处长，请先上台入座，热烈掌声欢迎我们施处长。
Next, we would like to welcome the Director General of the Work WDA to come up to the stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, and now the MOU exchange ceremony begins now with our animation video. 请播放动画。 We have strong cooperation between Thailand, Taiwan, and Australia. All three of us working together, joining hands to promote regional VET, vocational education training. And through MOU and cooperation, we form a very, very strong alliance. Australia, Taiwan, and Thailand together. In fact, MOUs have already been signed and already been exchanged, even in this time of COVID-19 pandemic. Very strong ties between Taiwan, Thailand, and Australia. MOUs have already arrived in respective countries, so we're working together. Strong alliance. Our applause for our cooperation. Please, ladies and gentlemen, our applause for Taiwan, Australia, and Thailand. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, and now continuing on with our applause, please welcome our Director General of WDA, Madame Shi Zhenyang, to speak to us. Madame Shi, 恭请署长为我们致辞。署长好。
Thank you. 各位贵宾、各位先生、女士，午安。
Development Agency, Ministry of Labor. I sincerely welcome your participation in Taiwan, Australia, Thailand MOU exchange ceremony and the skills transformation for post-pandemic workforce international forum. The WDA has been maintaining a long-term collaboration with Australia and Thailand in the field of vocational training. We share a close relationship and have promoted many projects successful here today. Together with the forum, the MOU exchange ceremony has marked not only enhancement of the both side cooperation and the establishment of a platform of exchange, but also for the development of cost-cutting, cross-project, cross-foreign partnership during post-pandemic era. Through these efforts, we could deepen human resources development by porting people to people, institution to institution, and the project-to-project connection. In the past, Taiwan and Australia has successfully launched 2018 APEC event coordinator pilot program and the 2019 event competency digital upskilling program. Senior trainers were recommended by TDA to deliver lectures for the programs. The participants were rewarded with certificates endorsed by Australia. Since 2017, we have also witnessed strong cooperative momentum with Thailand, where we have managed to organize C trainer upskilling program and to have TGI representative on many occasions as guest speakers or experts. While looking into the future, I expect a close and more active collaboration with Australia and Thailand. The labor market is now facing challenge posed by the rapid change in technology and the spread of the pandemic. Through this international event, I would like to call on countries to enhance collaboration on the training of talent to better equipped by the skill transformation in the post-pandemic era. I would like to take the opportunity to thank you, our close partners, Australia and Thailand, for their dedicated forming VET alliance with Taiwan, and our partnership will become a showcase for other Asia-Pacific countries, expanding the basis of regional collaboration. Last but not least, I would like to once again express my appreciation to all participants and experts for attending the event. Since the event only marks the beginning of collaboration, and through this platform, we will continue deepening Taiwan relations and the friendship with Asia-Pacific countries, and work for the economic growth and the regional prosperity. My best wishes to the success of the forum. Thank you very much for your participation. Thank you.
And thank you to our Director General of WDA, Madame Shi. Thank you for your wonderful opening remarks. She is our initiator, and also our initiator. This is joining us online, Mr. CEO of TAFE Directors Australia. Please welcome initiator, Mr. Craig Robertson. Craig, you're up.
Thank you very much, and it's wonderful to be here as part of this event from Canberra, Australia. Can I pay particular respects and welcome to Vice Minister Lee Sun-Kui. Very nice to see you again. And also Mr. Michael Kogan from the Australian Trade Office in Taipei. Also Madam Shi from Workforce Development Agency. Ms. Serendata from the Thai Trade Office in Taipei, as well as President Barak Sharon from the German Thai Institute. And also to many friends who I can see in the audience, it is great to be able to connect with you again. One thing that has been proven to us year upon year is the world is getting smaller, clearly not in a physical sense, but the way that we can connect together in events like this. And it is really quite fascinating to see that we all come together with a commitment for quality vocational education and training, because it does two important things for each of our countries. Firstly, it builds opportunity for people to participate strongly in the economy. But secondly, it helps industries grow. And I intend to talk a little bit about that in my presentation later. But what we also know is that skills, quality skills, are a passport for work around the world. And that's what's demonstrated through this collaboration between our three countries that have been in the MOUs that have been signed and exchanged today. I do need to say that I have missed being in Taiwan, and I have missed your hospitality. It is my great desire that the vaccine will be spread far and wide, or vaccines will be spread far and wide across our region, so that soon we'll be able to meet face to face. What COVID has shown to us around the world is that we are able to come together and work together. The vaccine, or the way that countries have reacted, have been really quite remarkable. And we have looked from Australia at Taiwan at the amazing public health measures that you have put in place. But as we tend to think about COVID being behind us, what is coming is a huge wave of change that's going to be brought by Industry 4.0, artificial intelligence, digitisation, automation, and the like. And what is going to happen is we're going to end up in a global chase for talent. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that people will be needing to migrate or travel around the world to access that talent. Because what's happening now, of course, is that we can access talent online. And that's why it is very important that all of our countries look at updating and keeping the skills of our citizens up to date, so that each country can benefit from the miracle that's going to come over many of our businesses through digitisation and automation. And I heard a comment say about mutual recognition, and that's going to become more and more important. so that we know that the qualifications that are delivered in Australia and the quality that comes with them can be recognised in Taiwan. We can assist Taiwan, Taiwan can assist us, and that's the same sort of relationship with Thailand. So it's my delight to be here and very happy to exchange this MOU formally. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Craig Robertson, CEO of TAFE Directors Australia. Now, joining us online is our initiator of the MOU from Thailand, President of Thai-German Institute, President Sumwon Bonrakcharoen. Please.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to cooperate with WDA in order to strengthen our human resource development, which is our main mission of our two organizations. We will support each other, and it's time to working together. I hope within this year you can come to visit TGI, as we have discussed long time. And I prepare one project that I think we can work together. Hope we can meet face to face by this year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for our ceremony, I would now like to ask our VIP guest to please come forward. 我们站在桌前来进行一张合影. Please let us welcome our witness and our initiators online.
We would like to take a group photo first.
Mascot koala, mascot elephant, and mascot Taiwan bear. 报告市长，我们要拿我们台湾的黑熊，我们的 mascot， 我们的吉祥物。Yes, yes, thank you. Okay, now here we have our witness, Vice Minister Lin, Deputy Representative Mr. Michael Gugan, Acting Director Madame Saradata, and online we have our initiators. This is Mr. Craig Robertson and President Bonrakcharoen, and of course, right here on site, our Director General Madame Shi. This is our special moment, historic moment. 报告市长，我们第一张照片，署长戴口罩。Second photo, we take off our face mask for the second photo. So we have two versions of photos for our press release. 请看大会摄影师，大会摄影师先举手。Please look at him first. First photo with our face mask. Ladies and gentlemen, I need some applause from you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Two photos already done. Now we take off our face mask for the second photo. 署长，我帮你拿。Okay, right, very good. 署长辛苦了，你要拿两个 MOU. Please show both. One is Taiwan and Thailand, one is Taiwan and Australia. Okay, thank you. Now, a wonderful smile. We have both on-site, our witness, and online, our initiators. 各位，我们大合照也要照到我们的 online 的与会的哦 ，online 的与会的。来，再次热烈掌声 ！A historic moment, MOU, Taiwan, Australia, and Thailand. Thank you so much. 报告市长，报告署长 ，Please step forward. We have more VIP joining us. 来，我们刚才 Andy 唱名的贵宾，请上台合影。We have more VIPs. Please step forward. 他们要站在台上，他们要站在台上。来，我们请刚才唱名的贵宾请上台。Our VIP who were introduced initially, who waved our hand, waved your hand, please join us for the super grand group photo. This is a historic moment for our wonderful strong alliance cooperation between Taiwan, Australia, and Thailand, working together, strong alliance. So we have a strong alliance photo. This photo shows our strong alliance, right? Okay. Okay. 那既然我们长官已经拿掉口罩了，我们后面的，yes, let's take off our face mask. 因为我们前面的4位长官已经拿掉了口罩。Okay, our guests online, you are in the photo. Please smile. Please give us your best smile. Okay, thank you very much. 来，请看摄影师 ，first look at him. This guy is doing the video mode. Okay, now second photo. 我们大会摄影师请举手。Okay, let's look at him together. With a wonderful smile, mascot in hand, Taiwan bear, koala, and elephant. Taiwan, Australia, and Thailand together. 掌声鼓励。Thank you very much. Thank you. A wonderful and historic moment. Thank you. Please be seated. Please be seated. Thank you so very much. Okay, that was our MOU ceremony. The MOU have already been signed and already exchanged. So that was the photo call for the MOU ceremony. 恭请次长请入座，谢谢。恭请署长请入座。Please be seated. Thank you so very much. Ladies and gentlemen, moving on, this is our International Forum for Transformation for Post-Pandemic Workforce. And beginning our International Forum is a keynote speech from Ms. Hai Kun Chun, Professional Officer, Skills and Employability Branch, Employment Policy Department of ILO. Her theme would be skills development in the times of COVID-19, taking stock of the initial responses in technical and vocational education and training. Ms. Hai Kun Chun, you're up. Please. 안녕하세요.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great honor for me to present the key findings of the recently launched report on skills development in the time of COVID-19, taking stock of the initial responses in technical and vocational education and training. Next slide, please. So I'd like to first begin by briefly touching upon the short brief on the impact of COVID-19 in the situation of labor market globally. So even before the global health crisis, there has been changes and disruptions. But the COVID-19 pandemic has brought even more disruptions on an unprecedented scale and magnitude and intensity. And it has undermined the progress of the last decade in a matter of weeks. According to the ILO recent monitor analysis, around 8.8% of global working hours were lost in 2020, which is equivalent to 255 million full-time jobs. And those losses were approximately 4 times greater than during financial crisis in 2009. And global losses were partly halfly due to employment losses, and the half of them are attributed to working hour reduction within employment. And these employment losses mainly translated into rising inactivity rather than unemployment, and surely it has brought labor income losses at a global level. And in total, there have been unprecedented employment losses of 140 million jobs compared to 2019. And if we compare with no pandemic scenario, the impact is larger in 2020. And in addition to that, not everybody was affected equally, that the employment losses were larger for women than for men, and it was larger for the younger generation than for older workers. Next slide, please. So to talk about our report that we have launched, it was a joint interagency report prepared by ILO, the World Bank, and the UNESCO. We conducted online survey which targeted TVET providers, policymakers, and social partners, and it was conducted from the beginning of April till mid-May last year. So before I go on, I would like to just highlight one point, that because the online survey was conducted at the very beginning of the outbreak, what was found that time might be slightly different by now. Next slide, please. So this report was based on the key findings of the interagency survey, which collected information on policies, training measures, challenges, and resources developed from 1,353 respondents, representing 126 countries and territories from all over the world. And 3/4 of the respondents were representatives of TVET providers, 17% were policymakers, and other respondents included social partners, career counseling, and employment services. Next slide, please. So the survey has shown that TVET programs have been disrupted at a large scale. Then 90% of respondents reported complete closure of TVET centers in their countries due to spread of coronavirus, and also to respond to the government's containment measures. And overwhelmingly, 98% of respondents across regions reported disruption of work-based learning due to closure of enterprises. And not only that, certifying exams and assessments were disrupted the 78% respondents reported that they had to either postpone or cancel the certifying exams and assessments during this period. Then why were we so disrupted? Simply, we were not prepared and ready to face a crisis with this scale and nature of COVID-19 pandemic. And this has exacerbated the pre-existing challenges that we were already facing in TVET system. And this survey has shown light on lack of general and technological infrastructure, not only in developing countries, but also in developed countries. Lack of effective and familiar distant learning platforms, and lack of staff capacity to support distant learning, insufficient digital skills and pedagogical resources at disposal, and financial resources constraints. These were all reported major obstacles to carry out and to continue TVET training during this period. Next slide, please. So the consequences of COVID-19 on learning and teaching may lead into serious long-term impact. And this may also cause and erase all the progress that we have been made in the last decade to improve TVET system. And also these disruptive consequences may result in difficulty with TVET student engagement and to ensure the quality of the training in a remote learning format. It also may drop in access to and affordability of TVET programs, especially for the TVET students coming from low-income households, if their parents are not able to pay for the tuition fees, or if they don't have equitable access to infrastructure and digital equipments which enable remote learning, then that will increase opportunity costs for TVET students to complete TVET programs, and we will risk a rise in the dropout rate as well. And the crisis has also shown that not only students were demotivated during this time, but also teachers, as the switch from person to person to distant learning modality was a burden, and it has imposed heavy workload on teachers. It also has brought a lack of motivation among teachers and students. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So, however, despite all the challenges and disruptions that we faced, we did also find some impressive changes during this period. Before the outbreak of COVID-19, the majority of TVET respondents only in 13 out of 92 countries used to provide online distant learning regularly or often. However, the uptake of distant learning solutions has accelerated since the COVID-19 outbreak in TVET, that half of them reported the provision of courses fully remotely during this period. And we find this quite an impressive change. Next slide, please. So what were the distant learning modalities? Throughout the survey, especially the TVET providers has provided various efforts and examples how they try to carry out practical skills and assessments. So in some countries where the virus cases were low and where the government containment measures were less stringent, face-to-face training and assessment were carried out, of course, with precautionary measures such as social distancing, wearing a face mask, staggering class breaks, and limiting the number of students on site at the same time. And also use of offline and online platforms and tools were reported. Mostly for the online platforms, TVET providers reported that they used existing online platforms and tools, such as MOOCs and Moodles and video tutorials, live video conferences, and if possible, if there was capacity and resources available, they used simulators. In case of offline platforms, it was mostly reported in many developing countries. They used national television, radios, and written resources such as self-paced learning guides and notes, and etc. And also alternative solution to practical skills training and assessment were reported. In some countries, students had to carry out practical tasks at home and then upload it on the platform by taking a photo or videos of the completed task for evaluation. And in some cases, using portfolios with the past assignment for overall assessment. Next slide, please. So, and in addition to that, the pandemic has created an opportunity to promote and further mobilize human and financial resources for expanding distance learning at a global level. Half of TVET providers reported that additional resources had been committed in their organization to create new materials, to deploy new technologies, and to expand online and offline distance learning modalities. Also, we have observed various forms of public-private partnership in TVET during this period. Some partnerships have led into providing equipments for teachers and disadvantaged learners to continue their distance learning. And in some cases, the partnership was forged to develop necessary platforms and carry out user training. And also during this period, TVET has been very helpful to address skill shortage in certain sectors. It was rather on an ad hoc basis, but many training programs and actions and resources have been developed to address skill shortage in certain sectors, such as health sector, and to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. And also in some cases, training centers were reoriented to help the production of protective equipment, which is essential during this pandemic. Next slide, please. So based on reported lessons learned from COVID-19 responses, this report provides a policy recommendation in 3 major areas so that TVET stakeholders can work together during and after the pandemic. And first, we need to enhance future readiness. Many countries and stakeholders in the TVET spheres were not sufficiently ready to respond adequately and swiftly to the shocks caused by the pandemic. And there's a widespread recognition that we need to invest in the development of realistic, adequate, and detailed contingency plans so that TVET providers and the overall system can better weather and rebound from the future crisis. And we also need to pay special attention to TVET-specific features, such as practical skills acquisition and work-based learning, which were heavily affected during this crisis. Also, we need to develop and reinforce capacities of TVET learners and teachers and of the managers of TVET institutions to adjust constantly evolving circumstances. And that involves capacity development of teaching and learning on the use of blended learning, involving combination of face-to-face and remote training, both online and offline, and also high-tech, low-tech, even no technology solution, depending on the local and national context. Next slide, please. We also need to enhance equal access to education and training. And the survey has revealed that even in middle income and high income contexts, just TVET providers switching purely 100% to online learning may risk leaving those disadvantaged groups behind, especially those without equitable access to infrastructure and training opportunities, especially those coming from low-income households. And we know that online learning is not a silver bullet, nor a simple solution for that. So we need to invest in developing and maintaining easy access to distant learning platforms and learning spaces for TVET, particularly taking into account the situation of those disadvantaged learners and teachers. And also, we should not only focus on school-to-work transitions, but also work-to-work transitions and reskilling and upskilling of young generation and the adults. And workers in non-standard or temporary employment should be also considered, as they usually do not have sufficient opportunity for training. So we need to come up creatively, innovatively, so that the solution is inclusive and equal, that more larger population can have more broad access to training opportunities throughout their working life. And for that effort, I would like to highlight how it is important to bring public-private partnerships which will bring much more added value, which can bring many practical solutions, as we have witnessed during this crisis. Next slide, please. Last point is we need to deliver relevant skills and training. It is very important to train young people and adults to meet current and future skills needs. And that includes rapid assessment of the labor market trends. And also we need to know what are the emerging skills needs. And the TVET programs have to make an agile adaptation to meet those identified needs. And during this crisis, we have seen that the pandemic has pushed forward the digital agenda for TVET, accelerating digital learning. And it is important that we capitalize on this achievement, and all the learnings, all the skills acquired during this period and through digital learning should be validated, recognized, and used. So in line with that, it will be very important to strengthen the systems for the validation and recognition of all forms of learning, including informal and non-formal ones. Last but not least, we need to increase our efforts to reskill and upskilling workers with a view to rebuilding back better and achieving full employment, especially for those who lost their jobs or livelihoods or risk unemployment under economic impact of COVID-19, including those self-employed and workers in the informal sector. Helping and supporting those workers and firms to make move and to make transition from hard-hit sector to expanding sector will in part depend on the capacity of education and training system to support them in that transition. Next slide, please. So in a nutshell, we know that skills can serve as a buffer against effects of any changes and disruptions. And skills are enabler in various aspects that, for example, if there are available skills, we can have more investment, and that also enables us to apply and uptake various different technologies. And also, skills serve as an equity mechanism that help bringing people to the level playing fields. So as ILO, we vision human-centered agenda with investment in people's capabilities at the heart. And as part of COVID-19 response, it is essential to make investment in skills development. In particular, as we are preparing for green, digital, and resilient recovery of the economy and the society, we need to consider investing in digital skills, green skills, OSH training, support to care economy, resilience, and core employability skills. And as for crucial recovery method, it will be advisable to integrate comprehensive skills measures into physical stimulus packages, and also to have skills development and lifelong learning along with social protection, active labor market policies, and efficient career guidance. Most importantly, the secure provision of incomes for those going through transition would be very important to make sure that people have sustained income while going through reskilling and upskilling. Next slide, please. So this comes to the end of my presentation. Before I hand over the floor to the Master of Ceremony, I would like to just highlight one point that apart from the report that I have presented today, we also published a guideline on rapid assessment of recycling and upskilling needs in response to the COVID-19 recently. And this tool has been applied in more than 10 countries, and more to come. And as ILO, we are supporting the countries to investigate and also to respond to the reskilling and upskilling needs in the context of COVID-19. So if you are interested, this guideline is available on the ILO website. And that comes to my end of my presentation. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hai-Kun-chun. 감사합니다. And that was the Professional Officer of Skills Employability Branch, Employment Policy Department, ILO. Our first keynote speaker. Moving on to our second keynote speech. This is from Senior Account Director of Go Green Lead LinkedIn from Hong Kong. This is Ms. Delora Yen. And her speech would be about what skills do employments and employees need thriving after COVID-19. Delora, you're up.
Hi, 大家好。
Hello. Good afternoon.
各位代表现场及线上的各位，
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, online and offline. Good
我
afternoon.
是严淑芬，Delora 严，
I'm
我来自
Delora
台
Yan. I
湾。
come from Taiwan.
目前因为工作移
And
居香
because of
港，
my work, I now live in Hong Kong.
今天很高兴有这个机会受
I'm
邀分
very
享
honored
疫后
to
成
have this
长人才
opportunity
所
to talk
需
about
新技
thriving
能
after
的这个主
COVID-19.
题。
What skills do employees need?
Next slide, please. OK. 好，那不论我们接受与否，这一场疫
Whether
情
you
已
like it or
经
not,
颠覆许多我们过
we
往的
know
工
that the
作形
pandemic
态。
has changed our way of
例
life
如，持
and
续在家
our
工作，
working mode.
远端、跨国工作
Remote
已经成为美国
cross
很多科技
country
业提供给
mode of
员
work
工
has
永久
become
的一个工作选
a
项。
new normal for many
就算
international
疫情平
companies.
息，
Even
这些
after the
变化也已
pandemic,
经成为一种新常
these
态。
changes will remain.
那面对这种新常态，
So
对
facing the
今
new
日或
normal,
未来的工作者要求的技能组合也
the
随之不
skills
同。
that employees will need will be different as well.
下一页。
Next.
好，那今天在我
So today
回
in
答
my
这个问题之
presentation,
前，
before I answer my own question
面
that I
对在
raised
职
in
场
the
的我
topic,
们，或正要进入职场的新鲜
for
人，
those who
到
are
底
about
需
to
要
enter
哪
the
些
job
关键
market,
的技能？
what are the
回答
core
这些
skills
问
that
题
we
之
need?
前，
And
请
before
让
I
我
answer that
先
question,
摘要几个职场正在发生或预期
let
会
me
即
first
将
talk
会发生
about
的改
the
变，
changes that are happening
让我
right
能
now
够更理解因为这
so
些
that
职
we
场环
know
境变化所产生的技
what
能
we
需
should
求。
do as we
最
face
后
these
简短的
changes.
分享一下我自己个
And
人的
then
观
I will
察
talk
作为
about
总
my
结。
own observation as the takeaways.
下一页。
Next slide, please.
疫情带来的职场
The
工作的这
pandemic
个
has
形态的
changed
巨大变
the
化，
workplace.
在台湾的工作者可
For
能感受
workers
没有
in
那么
Taiwan,
强
perhaps
烈。
you don't really
在
feel
海外
the
的我
changes,
呢，不时会
but
看
as
到
a
一些
person who
报
live
道描述，
overseas,
台湾除了戴口罩，
I see
其
that
他一切如
for the
常的生
Taiwanese
活
public,
宛如是平行时
you
空。
live the ordinary life. The only change is that you have to wear a mask everywhere. And for us, that's a different world.
的确，那就算相对现在在和缓、比较和缓的香
So
港，
even
疫
though
情以
in
来我
Hong
已经
Kong
习惯
the
一周有2天到3
outbreaks
天的时间在
has
家工作。
been controlled, but I'm used to the
所有
work
的
mode
会
of
议
staying at home
转
at
为
least
线
2 or
上，
3 days a week.
这与疫
Most
情
of our
之前
work
我
have
第一天到公司，
transferred
我经
to
常飞回
online.
台湾，
In the
办
past, I
客户的
used
事情
to
大为不
return
同。
to Taiwan quite often to visit my
所以职
clients.
场到底
But
有
today,
哪
it
些
is
的改
very
变？
different. And what are the
以下
changes
跟
that we
各位
face
分
today?
享我
So
们
let
最
me
近发
share
现
with
的
you
3个观
some of
察。
the major changes that we have observed.
下一页。
Next, please.
好，首先根据
First,
2020年
according to
世界经济
the
论坛
2020 World
的
Economic
Future
Forum
of Jobs
report,
2020的报告中预测，
they
到
predict that
2025年，
by 2025,
8500万个工作可能被取代或
85
消
million
失。
jobs are predicted to be displaced.
那在此同时，
At the
有
same time,
9700万的新工
97
作
million
将
new
诞
jobs
生。
will be created.
这个源自于各种科技创新的变
That,
动，
of course,
不管有
comes
没有疫情，
from
本来
the
就在发生。
changes of
不
technology
过疫情
despite
加速
the
了这些某
pandemic,
些的
but
工作被
the
取代。
pandemic has accelerated
例如
the
许
changes.
多直接面对客户的工作。
So a lot of old
所以
jobs,
在这里
traditional
我要
jobs
补充
that
的问题是，
require
我的
face-to-face
工作是会被
interaction
取代的
will
吗？
be replaced.
还是我有
So
能力
we
去
have to
胜
ask
任
the
这些
question,
新创的工
is my
作
job
呢？
going to be replaced? Or is my job going to be a new job that is going to be created?
下一页。
Next, please.
好，那第二个观察
And
很
my
明显的一
second
个变化
observation
是所谓的弹性工作
is
或
the
远
need
端
for
工作的需求
flexibility
大为提
or
升。
the remote work mode.
在疫情之前，远端
Before the
工作的
pandemic,
数量本来就在增加。
remote work has been on the rise
以后，
before
在这些
COVID-19.
刊登中提及弹
In
性工作选项的
2016, before
比例
2016,
增加了
you can see a 78% increase in job posts since 2016. But because of COVID-19, it has accelerated the demand.
在2020年3月，
In March, since March 2020,
工作的职缺增加了
we can see a greater demand for remote work.
远端工作的兴趣
A lot of job seekers
真的数量也明显的
And also the job postings have all said that they need flexible or flexibility in the workplace. But remote work or flexibility also change our traditional job description. So having a meeting together, drinking tea together in the office, having a meeting, having all the brainstorming in the same site, it is possible that this will not happen that often in the future. And for those who are interested in remote work, especially as leaders, they will need to have the ability of time management, task management, and self-discipline. So as Robinson had mentioned, remote work also change or remove the barriers when we want to hire new talents. Next slide, please. The next observation is that recruitment will hire less, and many businesses will start internal mobility. They will focus on transferable skills of their own personnel and employees. So in Asia Pacific area, since the pandemic, we see 15% increase in internal mobility. So for those of us who are still in the job market, we have to ask, how many transferable skills do I have in order to have the next job in the same company? Next slide, please. So when we see all the changes, when we see the new mode of work, when we see the increase of internal mobility, what are the skills? What are the power skills that we need for now and for the future? It's a very complicated question because it will depend on the discipline, on the sector, and also on the maturity of the industry. But I will use LinkedIn's data and our survey to share our insights with you in 4 different sectors, including the top 10 most demanding jobs. And we will also talk about vocational training, on-the-job training from top 100 enterprises in the world. And I hope that these will be useful for you. Next slide, please. Before I talk about this in detail, these are some of the data we use to answer our questions. LinkedIn is the biggest platform for professionals. Compared with other social media, LinkedIn's vision is to create economic opportunity to every member. By 2021, February 2021, we have over 338 million members, over 200 countries, over 50 million companies, and we offer at least 40 million jobs regularly. So we have also accumulated a lot of skills, and we also offer online courses every day. Because of all these members and all the companies, we have the biggest economic graph in the world. So we can track the job market in different regions and their changes. So we also share this information with many international organizations like ILO and World Economic Forum for research purpose. Next slide, please. So with the linking data, we can see in business, in sales, IT, and engineering, which ones are the fastest growing skills. Next slide, please. In business, the fastest growing skills include number one, customer experience, digital marketing, data analysis, forecasting, and analytical skills. These are core skills in business. Next slide, please. And in sales, the fastest growing skills include data analysis, technical support, customer relations management, sales process, and consulting. Personally, because I'm in sales, so apart from customer relationship management and sales process, I also see the greater demand in data analysis and technical support. Next slide, please. And in Taiwan, because our strength is in ICT, so in information technology, the fastest growing skills include cybersecurity, network engineering, analytical skills, SCOM, and information security. These are the fastest growing skills in information technology. Next slide, please. In engineering, the fastest growing skills are listed here. And I have to be honest with you, because I'm not familiar with engineering, so I don't really understand what they mean. But engineering see the fastest changes in the skills need. So it is very challenging for engineers. Next slide, please. So we talk about the fastest growing skills in 4 different areas. Now let's talk about the demands, the job offerings, and what are the skills need. We offer these 10 jobs as having the greatest number of job offerings. Even before 2020, basically they see steady growth over the past 4 years. They pay a livable wage, and they require skills that can be learned online. So these are the criteria that we use to identify these 10 jobs. Next slide, please. So let's look at the top 5. You can see it's closely related to engineering and IT. Software developer, as an example. Within 1 year, you see 22 million job postings on LinkedIn. IT administration, IT support, data analysis, and graphic designers, they have different demand. If you are interested to learn more about these skills, or if you want to train for these skills, please visit opportunity.com, opportunitylinking.com. We offered Microsoft, LinkedIn Learning, and to offer you this information and all the training courses. The next 5 are not so closely related to engineering or IT. You can see sales representative, project manager, customer service specialist, digital marketing specialist, and financial analyst. So the top 3 you see here include sales representative, project management, and customer service. You can see the demand is also very high, nearly 2.2 million together. And a lot of our companies, member companies, also want to hire sales representatives. So again, we list the in-demand skills here, and we hope that all the vocational training institutions can offer these skills to their participants or members. Next slide, please. Finally, let's look at learning and development professionals globally cited these skills as being the most important in 2021. So what are the skills? Next slide, please. The top 5 power skills, according to the global L&D, include resilience and also digital literacy or digital fluency, the ability to work in different places or work remotely, emotional intelligence, and also cross-functional collaboration. What is quite interesting here is that if you look at the map on the left, top 1 and top 2 have different number of supporters in different areas. If you look at the lighter blue area in North America and Australia, they believe that resilience is the most important skill. But in India and Southeast Asia, they believe that digital fluency and technology skills are the most important skill. Thank you. Next slide, please. Also, these professionals said that number 6 to 10 include leading through change, change management, dealing with stress, time management, and creativity. So all the 10 power skills, apart from number 2, which is related to digital technology, all the other 9 skills are so-called soft skills, or as Simon Snip said, these are skills that are related to people, that deal with people. So these are people skills, and these are very difficult to learn. So as we face the pandemic, we also face challenges in our people skill. Next slide, please. After reviewing all the data and the report, let's think about the question we posed today. What skills do employees need in the post-pandemic era? I believe that the most important skill is resilience and digital literacy. Resilience means how fast can you adapt to changes? How quick can you adapt to the new environment? And digital literacy is your ability to talk and communicate with machines. During the pandemic and also in the post-pandemic era, both skills are really important. But you also need to cultivate other skills, particularly the 9 people skills that we talk about. You need to find your own combination so that you can continue to be competitive in the job market. Next slide, please. Last but not least, I would like to quote Sheryl Sandberg's words. She's the COO at Facebook. She said, "You are not born with a fixed amount of resilience. Like a muscle, you can build it up, draw on it when you need it. We don't know when the pandemic will come to an end, but we can continue to train our resilience so we can adapt faster when we see or when we face the ever-changing environment and continue to be competitive in the world." Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, after two keynote speech, let us now take a short 10 minutes break. Coffee, tea, and dessert and fruits are available. And after 10 minutes, we will come back with our panel discussion. Enjoy your tea break. 10 minutes and counting.
Yes.
Andy, my name's Andy. Hey, sir. Michael. Same here. University for my undergrad. I went to Deakin for my postgrad. Hey, Coco，我剩下3格，这要给audio 上，我剩下3格，我只剩下3格。 Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are less than 2 minutes away from our panel discussion. I know you're enjoying your dessert, but our online participants, they don't have desserts to enjoy, okay? So they're waiting for us to start on time for our panel discussion. Panel discussion will start in exactly 1 minute and 30 seconds. So please bring your dessert, bring your coffee, bring your tea to your tables. And you can enjoy the panel discussion while enjoying your dessert, coffee and tea. The panel discussion will start in 1 minute and 16 seconds. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I believe it is now time for our panel discussion. Please bring your coffee, your tea, and your dessert to your tables, and let's enjoy the panel discussion while you enjoy the coffee, tea, and dessert. Okay, our online panelist who doesn't have the privilege to enjoy the coffee and tea and dessert, they're now with us online. Okay, so as the MC, Andy will introduce the panelists first, and then finally I will introduce our chair. Okay, online with us, our panelists include from Australia, Mr. Craig Robertson, Mr. CEO of TDA. Mr. Craig Robertson has been the CEO of TAFE Directors Australia ever since April of the year 2017, and he's also the chair of the World Federation of Colleges and Polytechnics. Now, our second panelist is from Belgium. This is Ms. Anne van Noten, and she is a service manager at VDAB, the Flemish Employment Service in Flanders, in Belgium. She has an expertise in online learning, employer services, upskilling employees, and digital skills. Moving on, our online participants, online panelists also include from Thailand, President of TGI, President Somwan Bunrak-Charong. And President Bunrak-Charong, he has been the president of Thai-German Institute ever since 2016 until the present time, doing a wonderful job. Ladies and gentlemen, our other participants, panelists online includes from Vietnam. This is Vice President Pan Ngoc Mai Poon from VIDS MPI. Now, a short introduction of her background is that her research field involves socio-economic development strategies, master plans, and other plans as well, helping all of us. Wonderful job as well. And of course, we have another panelist online. She is Professional Officer, Skills and Employability Branch, Employment Policy Department of ILO. She's been with us already as one of our keynote speakers. She is Ms. Hai Kyung Chun. Now, she is focusing on skills needs anticipation for the future of work, skills for trade and economic diversification, skills for environmental sustainability and climate action, and skills for technological change and digitization. Wonderful work as well. Now, another panelist joining us online, she was also our keynote speaker. She is Delora Yen, Senior Account Director of Go Green Lead LinkedIn from Hong Kong. She'll be joining us as a panelist online, and her background is that she currently holds a position in LinkedIn Hong Kong, helping clients from Taiwan to build employer brand, enhance social recruitment strategies, and to advance enterprise workforce planning through LinkedIn Talent Services and its unique insights. She is part of our panelists online. And ladies and gentlemen, last but not least, we have on site a participant. He is our very good friend, Mr. Huang Zhisheng, Section Chief of the Planning Division of WDA. Please welcome Mr. Huang to please be seated on stage with our applause. 热烈掌声，我们欢迎黄组长、黄科长。Now, Mr. Huang, he is very experienced civil servant. He has served in many, many job areas across the area of social welfare, public relations, labor relations, trade unions, collaboration, and foreign labor affairs. Wonderful job for Mr. Huang. And now, ladies and gentlemen, very importantly, we need our chairman for our panel discussion. Please welcome our chairman, CMA Secretary General, Mr. Zhang Yushan. 非常好。The floor is yours. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Jian Guang. You do a wonderful job for me. Ladies and gentlemen, this panel reflects the true nature of post-pandemic forum. That is, although it is relatively thin on stage, you see only 2 persons here, but this is a very rich panel with our virtual participants online. So I believe we'll have a very fruitful 1-hour discussion. We have heard 2 very insightful keynote, which demonstrate from various parts of the changing nature of the work and skill in this ever dynamic situation. So I propose we'll conduct our seminar, our panel as such, that we will start from the real physical participants first, and then we'll invite our good friends from afar who have not, by listening to the 2 keynote speakers, they can give out their opinion, reflections, and in fact, I found some of them have made a good preparations for their case. We can share their views and their reflections. And then we'll invite the 2 keynote speakers to respond on the reflections and more add on to their ideas. Then if we have more time, which I doubt, then we'll open up the floor. Then we can have a mutual second round exchange. If that is okay with us, I see no objection. So I will perform as such, that I will invite our first panelist, my good friend to my left, Section Chief Huang Zhisheng, to have the first round. Zhisheng, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Zhang. Thank you for the floor. My name is Huang Zhisheng. I'm the Section Chief of International Section in Workforce Development Agency in charge of international labor affairs. I'm so honored to be one of the panelists in the international forum. As the first panelist and organizer of this event, I would like to talk about the purpose of this event. This is the first part. The second part is that I'm going to talk about the measures have been taken during COVID-19 in Taiwan. Due to the spread of COVID-19, almost every country is suffering impact both on economic activity and labor market. Therefore, each and every country has taken some relevant measures to help workers overcome the obstacles. Though Taiwan is doing pretty well on pandemic containment, we also adjust the operation of vocational training to cope with new ways of nurturing talents. We signed Memorandum of Understanding of International Education and Vocational Training with TDA, TGI, and VDAB, respectively. Through the platform we forged today, we can share the measures in response to the pandemic on one hand, and can also compare these measures with one another, take best practices into consideration for the adjustment of our own policies on the other. We established ASD-CBA, namely APEC Skill Development Capacity Building Alliance in APEC. Its purpose is to strengthen international cooperation in vocational and education training. I sincerely wish that through this platform, we can continue working with TDA, TGI, and VDAB, and furthermore, incorporate international synergy from other countries. Now I would like to talk about the second part of the measures we have taken during COVID-19 in Taiwan. Our measures to help workers in response to the pandemic can be divided into two parts. The first one is to provide various subsidies and financial support to make those workers' economic conditions stable. The other is to provide comprehensive training methods to help them weather the storm of industrial digitalization and transformation. Now, the first one is that we take some measures to stabilize their economic condition. We have so-called assured immediate employment program. To those workers who are affected by pandemic and suffering from economic difficulties, our government provides temporary jobs with hourly minimum wage for 80 hours per month. More than that, we also provide long interest subsidy and loan repayment postpone measures. To those entrepreneurs who started up their business during the pandemic and have difficulties to repay their loan, they can extend the loan repayment for 1 year. And our government provides subsidies to the generated interest during the period of time. Now, the second part is that we also construct comprehensive vocational training methods. We have anti-pandemic containment measures in vocational training center. To ensure the safety and health of vocational trainees and to keep the training momentum going, we strengthen our relevant measures such as compulsory mask wearing, sanitizing the training equipment from time to time to make the training run smoothly. More than that, we also using digital technology in training courses. We incorporate augmented reality technology in training courses, such as the use of simulators for demonstration of teaching and computer virtual images to cope with the difficulties of on-site learning. The third part is we also take some measures to help young generation in labor market. We enhance assistance in youth employment. We expand free of charge pre-employment training for young people. By teaching them up-to-date job skills, we increase their willingness and opportunity of employment. Furthermore, we also provide subsidies to both unemployed young people and enterprises. For unemployed young people, they can use the subsidy to participate in training course. For enterprises, the subsidy is also used for hiring inexperienced young people. After being hired for a period of time, they can get needed experience for them to stay in the enterprises longer. The fourth part is we also take some measures to assist on-the-job workers. In response to the challenges in the working environment caused by COVID-19 and digitalization, we offer various digital training courses to assist in transformation of enterprises and the escalation of working skills. We also launched a program called Recharge and Restart Program. Due to the decrease of economic activities, many companies implement working hour reduction measure to cope with the difficult times, which make the workers work less and get less pay. In the meantime, the companies can apply government financial support to strengthen employee skills training during work breaks and prepare for future transformation. I would like to share a project we are doing right now, because we noticed that working from home and a zero-contact economy are the most updated trends now and after. It changed the configuration of job market rapidly and also created more opportunity for some traditionally vulnerable working groups, especially female workers. Last year, we launched a project called Women Economic Empowering in New Media Digital Upskilling. Its acronym is WEDO, W-E-D-U, WEDO. We found that during pandemic, more female workers are laid off, but they changed their jobs from traditional ones to digital area. They join online selling companies or even sell things themselves. But the core issue is, how do they grab the skills needed if they are the novice at the digital area? And how do they refine their skills as the guarantee to a higher position or a higher profit? Therefore, we scrubbed existing digital training courses, picked some prominent skills, incorporated some new ideas, and combined them into new training package. We hope that by sharing the new training package, we can empower not only female workers, but also other vulnerable working groups to the new trend of digitalization and automation. Once the project is finished, I'll be very happy to share our best practices with you all guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Section Chief Huang. He has shared what we have done during the COVID-19. And indeed, many countries and many governments have subsidies in one way or the other. What we have done is one of the practice we've been through, but let me add, we do this in a physical discipline that we do with a limited budget and kept our financial health to a great stand. Subsequently, we have 4 panelists have not give out their voice yet. I'll invite them first, and later I'll invite 2 keynote speakers to give a response. To, on the one hand, reflect what's been told, on the other, to share what their practices are. By alphabetic order, I will first invite our guest from Australia, my good old friend, Greg Robertson, who is the CEO of the TDA, TED Director for Australia. So, Greg, the floor is yours. Can we?
To be here again.
Yes.
And it's great to see you. Can people hear me okay?
Yes, very loud.
Yep. Fantastic. I'm going to try to keep to 5 minutes for this. So what I'm wanting to try to show you is what's going to happen with really technology and how we need to respond to automation and the like. So next slide, please. This graph shows in the Australian context what has happened with unemployment in essence. And what you can see is the longer yellow dip, the yellow line, is the long time it took for employment to recover during the 1990s recession. And if you look on the left, the little red line, which is the global financial crisis, we had a small drop in employment, but we recovered quite quickly. What's been quite characteristic about COVID has been a very rapid drop in employment, and we think that that employment will come back quite rapidly but certainly not as long as the 1990s recession. Next slide, please. But against that background, we know that Industry 4.0 will probably have the bigger impact. And we understand the progression of what industry has been in our economies from Industry 1.0, which was sort of the beginning of mechanisation. Industry 2.0 was really the automobile and a lot more mobility. Industry 3.0 was the flow of information and communication technology, which we are really on the tail end of now. And Industry 4.0, which is really a whole range of new elements. And let's look at that on the next slide. In other words, we have the tools here, and these are terms that we would be familiar with. Robotics, the Internet of Things, blockchain, big data, artificial intelligence. All of those elements are now starting to come to bear so that through those particular pieces of automation, digitization, a lot of our work will be adjusted. And there has been quite a few research projects done about what that impact will be. And that's where I want to try to quickly finish my comments on here. If we go to the next slide, please. Often we hear the news that when there is automation and digitization and artificial intelligence and the like, that lots of people will lose their jobs. Now, there certainly is that risk. But the chart I've got here is from a report that was released in January from the Asia Development Bank, and it's in relation to the logistics industry in Vietnam, of all places. What this is showing is digitization may well displace some jobs, may well change the nature of some jobs as well, that would lead to the overall reduction in jobs. But because of the improved productivity and therefore cheaper goods and services, there is increased demand. And so jobs can come back. And what this chart is showing here in respect of the logistics industry in Vietnam is there is a net gain. Now, to be clear within this report, they're very clear, though, that that net gain in jobs requires a skilling transition because there will be a impact across different cohorts of workers. If we go to the next slide, please. What this shows here is they have looked at the nature of tasks required in the logistics industry from the basic introductory jobs to intermediate level jobs to advanced jobs. And those three circles that I have outlined there are really showing where the new priority will be. So for basic or entry-level jobs, the priority is in computer literacy, digital and ICT skills. In the intermediate level jobs where people are managing and leading a business or a supply chain process or whatever, the key things are critical thinking and written and verbal communication. And in advanced, where you're really leading and designing systems and processes, you need good social empathy and evaluation and judgment skills. And you can see with some of the red boxes, some of the more routine tasks that we've done are no longer required. So the real challenge for us is to reduce the load, is to do a skilling strategy so we do not risk people being left behind. Next slide, please. This is an old slide that I have used before, and I want to really leave with this is, if we make sure that we invest in skilling for low skill or low and middle skill investment, there is a productivity return for those people. So the priority for us and for every country is really to increase the capabilities of all citizens so that each and every one can act as able citizens and productive workers or engineers. And really that's the challenge for us in this environment, to bring a skilling strategy so we make sure that there is nobody left behind. And on that note, I'll finish. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Greg. I think you have bring us to a higher level that other than COVID-19, there are things we need to worry about. For instance, technology advances. And not to mention, we are in a popular crisis that in this eastern part of Asia, the people are, we die more than we give birth to new ones. So the young people do not, first of all, get married. Secondly, they don't give children. So the labor force is shrinking. That will also tie to what you have, that technology may be one of the solution to us. But hopefully.
And I need to apologise. I need to go on to another meeting, but I'm going to leave Eva
I'm sorry.
to be part of this meeting. So
I didn't know you have things to. Did you have something else to add on?
No, but Eva, who is online, will be available to answer questions as well. So
Eva is online. Where is she? Is she?
She'll come online soon.
Okay.
Anyway, I'll let you keep going. So for when the questions come, that will happen. Thank you.
If she's appeared, I'm very happy to see her. So
thank you. Bye-bye.
So Greg has complicated our problem even more. That we were talking about COVID-19 response, then technology comes in, and I'm going to invite our good friend from Europe, Miss Van Newton. Am I pronouncing it right? Miss Newton? Van.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
So what's your take on this ever-changing world, and what should we arm ourselves with? Go ahead.
Thank you for having me. Yes, labor market is evolving at a very quick pace, and we have to invest in upskilling and reskilling people. I would like to focus today with you on how at VDAB, the Flemish Employment Service, how we made the shift from physical learning to digital learning and hybrid learning in our training centers. Okay, next slide, please. In our mediation process, we already use the basic principle that we mediate on 3 levels, being digital first, human digital, and face-to-face. Okay, then we had a strategy to make a transition, next slide please, in offering our vocational training in the same principle. So teaching our students in a digital manner if possible, remote coaching and training, for example, digital workshops in a human digital layer, and then face-to-face or in-person teaching, for example, when teaching manual skills to our students. Of course, this means a relatively big change process. Next slide, please. And a change process is always comes in 3 phases. You have to want to, you have to know how to, and then be able to. I will try to focus on those 3 steps in mindset, tool set, and skill set before the pandemic and afterwards. Next slide, please. Because COVID-19 has been a great accelerator of this change process with our trainers and trainees. Before COVID, we mainly had face-to-face learning. We had some integration with theory and practice, and we already introduced digital learning, but it depended on the training. For example, in ICT training, it's more evident to work online than in a training where you teach people how to build a house, for example. Yeah, next slide, please. In the tool set before COVID, there are some animation in the presentation, so this gives a mashed up slide here. I apologize. I had some images about the different tools we already introduced because we invested quite a lot even before COVID in simulators, in online learning courses, in digital classes, digital workshops, VR technology, etc. Next slide, please. There was a skill set before COVID in which our trainers were gaining experience, already sharing some good practices and learning from each other, taking steps there already. But then, of course, next slide, please, there was the COVID pandemic and the lockdown, which in Belgium came quite overnight. Yeah, our trainers had to switch from face-to-face learning to digital learning. Digital learning became a necessity, and we really didn't have time to prepare for the transition to change. Yeah. On the part of the tool set during the pandemic, next slide, please, we went very quickly. We distributed 500 Chromebooks to our clients so that they would be able to access our courses and to talk to the coaches. We made internet accounts available, and we made sure there was a virtualization of some software so that people could access the software from their homes. On the skill set on the next slide, during the pandemic, we continued to invest in the digital learning materials, really jumped in and went for it and started sharing experiences, set up some inspirational sessions so that all the trainers were inspired how to go about the online working. Next slide, please. Now, slowly we are reaching the point of the post-COVID period, next slide, in which we experience that our, next slide please, our teachers and trainers are a bit hesitant sometimes to return to the face-to-face learning because sometimes they're afraid to return to the workflow. But on the other hand, there are some skills you need to practice face-to-face. You cannot learn everything online. Above that, VDAB has made the strategic choice to evolve from blended learning to hybrid learning, in which we offer a mix of online and offline and online learning tailored to each individual trainee. Now, in the future, I cannot see the slides very good, but I think we need to go to the next slide. Yeah, it's not very visible to me, I'm sorry. In the future, we have to make sure we make more tools available. The challenges will be that the offer of tools available is that big so that we have to make choices and make sure our trainers and our trainees keep up to date and that we keep our trainers on board. On the skill set side, the landscape is very diverse at the moment. We are coaching our trainers how to deal with the hybrid learning. There are some issues for considerations to focus on. For example, that non-native speakers need additional guidance to work in this new context. I already heard several speakers about digital literacy, which is, of course, essential before you can deploy a teaching or learning strategy the way I talked to you about it. And it is important not to lose sight of integrating the learning, the theory, and learning how to do it, the practice itself. So for now, we are, next slide please, we are investing in extra coaching for our trainers so that they know how to use the tools and how to improve their skills. in different ways with inspirational sessions, for example. Next slide. And in such way, we try to evolve and let them grow so that they go from a license to a license to scale digitally, so we can take on this in a professional manner and in a way that we leave none of our clients behind. That was in a quick few minutes talk what I wanted to contribute today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Von Newton. Do we have problems showing you our slide? Oh, I see. So it's the bandwidth or technical support problem. So that I feel that you have difficulties in seeing which slide you are presenting to us. Is that the case?
Yes.
Oh, I see.
Yes, that was. Yeah, it was impossible for me to see which slide was presented, I see. And then, but I think I managed to tell the main points of what I wanted to discuss with you today. So if there are any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
This is still doing by learning that anything can go wrong, and we sometimes don't know what the other side is seeing. So I was guessing you have a problem seeing your image. So we'll figure that out. And thank you. So you see, the digitization is an ongoing process. There's never a best solution yet. So thank you. This is a case study of sharing a slide across the continent. Okay, the third participant, panelist I'm going to invite is from Thailand. I'm sorry. Okay, sorry. Mr. President Songwon Bukacharam from TGI, who will be sharing his experience on digital learning. So, President Bukacharam, the floor is yours.
Thank you. First of all, I have to say thank you to WDA that invited me to be a speaker in this event. And let me interview you Thai-German Institute a little bit. Yeah, Thai-German Institute or TGI, we are under the Ministry of Industry. Our mission is to develop high-skilled workforce for manufacturing industry. Therefore, from our structure, our services to industry is more upskill, reskill. Because we are not in the educational side, we do more the upskill, reskill. Next slide, please. Yeah, from this slide, regarding the talent up and reskill, in Thailand we have the Thailand 4.0 policy. That's why we have to do the upskill, reskill our industrial worker to support and driving Thailand 4.0. From the slide, we are focused on the talent market. Then we have the plan and building the talent on the demand. Next slide, please. This slide only show the 5-year demand in the Eastern Economic Corridor, what we call EEC. This is the strategic project to stimulate economy in Thailand. This project is similar to the new southbound policy of Taiwan. You can see the totally workforce. What we need only in EC is around 480,000 people in 5 years. And the most needs position that is in the digital industry, it needs around 170,000. But this study is done before the pandemic. If we study, I think the number is more reduced because during the pandemic, the industry, they use more automation and robotic. That from the pandemic, that is acceleration for the use of automation and robotic in the manufacturing industry. Next slide, please. For this, what skills we need? Yeah, there needs the hard skill, soft skill, meta skill, and learning skill. For this learning skill, that is very important to catch up the rapid technology change in the future. Next slide, please. And how to build our talent. We have to collaborate, work together in the related organization from the educational side, the Ministry of Industry, the Ministry of Labor, and industry itself. Yeah. And during the pandemic, there are many training programs that is subsidized by government to support industry, especially for the SME, the small and medium enterprise. Most of the training program that is free of charge that we support to the SME. That's what I would like to share with you. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much. I think TGI is a very innovative approach to training, to combine industry as well as education, vocational training together. Recently, in our country, that we are studying a special decree to see whether we can do combine industry as well as education university together to train semiconductor manpowers. So I think this approach is innovative, and maybe we can shake the ivory tower a little bit. The fourth participant, panelist, I'm going to invite is from Vietnam. If I pronounce it not exact, please forgive my ignorance. Pang Phong May Phong, Vice President, VDS MPI. Ms. May Phong, Vice President May Phong, is that, am I right? Okay, so
yeah.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank VDA Chinese Taipei very much for inviting me to join this very important and interesting international forum as a panelist. Yeah. So I'd like to talk about how to promote talent upskilling and reskilling after COVID-19 in the case of Vietnam, and also how to promote international education and vocational training cooperation in face of COVID-19. So in my presentation, I will touch upon 4 topics. First, I will share with you a snapshot of Vietnam's labor and employment in 2020 with some comparison with last year, 2019. Second, I'd like to share with you the job trends and skills in Vietnam following COVID-19 pandemic. And thirdly, innovative and creative measures to promote talent upskilling and reskilling. And finally, some suggestion for promoting international vocational training cooperation in face of COVID-19. Next slide, please. So if you look at this one, you will see the next slide, please. Yeah, this is a next shot of Vietnam's labor and employment in 2019 and 2020. So if you look at the right-hand side infographic, you can see an overview of Vietnam's population, labor, and employment. And on the left-hand side, this table shows you the changes in labor force as well as the rate of trained workers, average monthly income, underemployment rate, as well as working age unemployment rate between 2019 and 2020. Also, we compare several major quarters like fourth quarter of 2019 and 2020. And from the table, you can see that you can see negative impacts of COVID-19 on workers in labor market entrance. So reduced by from the figure 1.2 million, but in some analysis it may be up to 1.6 million people compared to 2019. So, and also you can see the increased underemployment rate in all economic sectors. So in Vietnam, we pay attention to this rate because the informal sector in Vietnam is still large. And also as for income generation, you can see a decreasing trend of average income, especially in services sectors. So if you see compare the figures between 2019 and 2020, as well as the fourth quarter of 2019 and the fourth quarter of 2019. So next slide. And so also next slide, please. So the not only the those decreased figures, but the quality of labor force in Vietnam remains a problem because at the moment 75% workers in our country are not technically trained. Of course, they can receive some kinds of training, but they are very short term. And according to the official definition of trained workers, they need to have at least 3 months training with certificate. So the existing rate in Vietnam is only 24.6, so less than 25%. And this remains a hurdle to our country in catching up with new technology trends as well as in adopting new ways of conducting businesses that are quite common following the COVID-19 pandemic. Next slide, please. So now I'd like to move to job trends and skills in Vietnam following COVID-19 pandemic. So as the first for job trends, clearly, as well as in all our economies, you can see decreasing traditional and unskilled jobs, as well as increasing new jobs, especially highly skilled jobs and those using digital technologies, which is completely in line with the increasing trend of digital technology application in all sectors of the economy to respond to the reverse impacts of COVID-19. And of course, increasing trend of working from home, especially during lockdown periods. And since the occurrence of COVID-19, so you can see that e-commerce has drastically become a key strategy for businesses to cope with the pandemic and develop new distribution channels. And also you can see the rapidly increasing number of jobs in high-tech sectors that many of you mentioned earlier, such as information and communication technology, or ICT in short, artificial intelligence, AI, big data, or biotechnology, pharmaceuticals, and health, and also in sectors in greater demand in the economy, such as the delivery or logistics. Also, you can see new or innovative forms of business doing in the sectors most affected by the pandemic, like transport, tourism, hotel, or restaurant. Next slide, please. So moving to the changes in skills requirement in the labor market, like in all your economies. We can see in our country there is a rapidly increasing needs for digital skills, and on the contrary, decreasing needs for manual skills in many labor-intensive sectors because of increasing automation, especially in many labor-intensive industries like that involves a lot of assembly. Also, we can see greater needs for innovation and generic skills such as problem solving, communication, ability to work independently as well as in teams, and time management. And also there are greater requirements for foreign languages, especially English skills. Next slide, please. So those are the overall picture of Vietnam, the changing in jobs as well as the changing in requirement for skills, and I think they are quite similar to the situation in many of your economies. So now let's move to the some innovative and creative measures to promote talent upskilling and reskilling that we have been doing, and also we are going to do in the near future. First, promoting cooperation between government and private sector, or public-private partnership in other words, and between the business sector and the system of education and training institution. As you can see, so as to link and improve the efficiency between training and use of human resources, because in Vietnam we still have a problem of mismatch between supply and demand. And secondly, enhancing interdisciplinary cooperation in the country. Thirdly, effectively renovating and implementing training and retraining policies to improve the quality of human resource. That in Vietnam, we have been considering high quality human resource as a breakthrough of our socio-economic development strategies, SEDS in short. Not only this, the existing one for 2021-2030, but also in the previous two strategies, 2001, 2010, and 2011-2020. And this is quite clear from the international experience that the high quality human resource plays the most important role in economic prosperity. And fourthly, identifying new labor. Of course, we need to identify new labor composition, because now the share of unskilled workers should be decreased drastically, and then the higher skilled workers should increase. And then we will come up with the needs for upskilling and reskilling, employment improvement in all segments of the economy, and finally develop talent upskilling and reskilling strategy, not only at national levels, but also national level, sectoral and corporate levels. And fifthly, continuously promoting digitalization as a tool, crucial tool for talent upskilling and reskilling. And there are also other measures for example, we have decided to give priority to upgrading new skills for the young workforce, because actually the share of young laborers in Vietnam is quite large, but a majority of them are found in rural areas with very low skills. So that's why we attach very high priority to upgrading the new skills for young workforce. And other things like a closer and more effective cooperation between businesses and education and training institutions to ensure a match between supply and demand in the labor market, developing comprehensive labor market information system, also to enable a good match between supply and demand, developing a generation of tertiary educated graduates with outstanding technical knowledge and generic skills that permit continuous adoption to new technology as well as business conditions, and developing cross-occupation and green skills. Actually, for the green skills, we have been providing, this kind of training with the support from the GIZ as well as other donors, and partnership with employers in Vietnam. Promoting distance learning, this is quite clear, especially in face of COVID-19 pandemic, and changing the current approaches to teaching and learning to enable students to develop critical thinking, communication, skill and problem solving and decision making skills, promoting lifelong learning, and providing proper incentives like recruitment, working conditions, income promotion to talents working in public sector. Actually, the brain drain is still happening in public sector because of much higher salary and much better benefits are provided by the private sector. So actually, these strategies are quite necessary. Next slide, please. And here we also have some specific measures for the university level education, like enhancing collaboration in tertiary education, supporting teachers to adopt effective pedagogies to develop knowledge and skills that students need to succeed in the labor market, or building a strong information system, strengthening innovation through knowledge exchange activities between universities and firms with innovation ambition. Next slide, please, and the final slide. So here are some suggestions for international education and vocational and training cooperation in face of COVID-19. Enhancing cooperation in vocational training among regional countries, and we see clear need, especially among ASEAN, APEC, GMS members, with a focus on skills required by the emerging sector, I mean the new sectors in the economy. And secondly, we should apply innovative and creative forms of experience and knowledge sharing, not only face-to-face as traditional ones. And thirdly, greater and longer-term assistance and support from developed economies to developing economies in establishing vocational training schools or centers in foreign languages. First of all, English, Korean, Chinese, or Japanese training is of great importance. Fourthly, continue and more effective cooperation between developing economies in need for support, and development partners, particularly Germany, Japan, Korea, Australia, and international organizations such as ILO, IDB, World Bank, and UNICEF in education, especially tertiary education and vocational training. And finally, in our opinion, in response to the problem of failure to send trainer to develop from trainees to develop economies for training due to bans on international flights, vocational training can be conducted effectively in developing economies with sophisticated demonstration videos developed by the former and with the trainers of the latter, from the developing economies. So that ends my presentation. Thank you for your kind attention.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Vice President Mei Fong. I think we all face similar problem, and your report, very, very detailed response to the current challenges. I think you have things all worked out. We all face similar problems. And it's time for me to invite two of our panelists to give final remarks. However, I apologize to you that due to my own mistake that my time control is not that good. So I'll beg your assistance to make your response in time. So may I ask Ms. Hei Kyung Chung, Ms. Chung, profession officer from ILO, to give her remark first. Ms. Chung.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for giving this last opportunity for intervention. I'll be very brief. Allow me to begin by thanking each panelist for sharing innovative and creative solutions in regard to reskilling and upskilling and how they're responding to the COVID response. This is truly inspiring, and I have taken good note of them, how in Taiwan you're empowering female and vulnerable groups with digital training courses, how in blended learning and hybrid learning are tailored for each trainees in Belgium, and how Mr. Song Wang has mentioned about subsidies and helping SMEs, and how it is important to bring all different ministries to work together on this. And also from Vietnam, it was very heartening to hear how they're also working on green skills in collaboration with GIZ. So my addition to this discussion would be that we hear so many exemplary practices that are observed during this crisis. However, I think what's important is we should not let it be a short-lived trend. It would be important that all the successful emerging measures, innovations are not just one-shot response, COVID response. It should be maintained. It should be mainstreamed into the overall system, if possible, during pandemic or after we exit from this pandemic. So I would like to highlight that we need to seize the moment and capitalize on what's there and what we can do. And if all the lessons learned are assimilated and the achievements sustained, longer term and I think lasting positive impacts can be assured and ensured at the system level. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And I thank personally for your concise but precise comments. And it's very, very good. Thank you. And also, Derola Yan Xiaojie Dora from Hong Kong, LinkedIn. Could you join us?
Yes, and I thank you for having me here. I think I'm the only representative from the public private sector. So for me, it's such a wonderful opportunity to learn all the measures, what we're trying to help our workers around these different countries. So for me, it's a lot of takeaways today. So what I think I can add on is something that maybe quite simple, but I think maybe it can also help you to consider that, right? Is when we actually develop all the wonderful workers, please remember to help them to build their individual digital representations so they are able to visible to the global work market. Because I think for them, after all the reskill, upskill, and even the enterprise, within the enterprise, that's all the same trend. So we are doing the same thing, but help them to be visible to this global job market. Yeah, so yeah, that's something that I think I can add on to it. And the second thing I think I just listen and learn so many good practices and measure and all the different resources. So I maybe also encourage that there are also a lot of enterprise actually doing the same thing. And so have the global scale. So like Google or like Microsoft or even like LinkedIn also offer this kind of free learning resources. I think maybe we can embed it, all these resources into our existing practice so that actually our workers actually can connect it to the real enterprise or the corporate environment. Yeah, that's the two things that I may add on to all the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Delora. May I ask, is Eva around? She's probably, yes, you are. Eva, I reserved the final slot for you. Come on, share something for us.
Well, I really am mindful of time, and there has been so much said that I will make it very short. On behalf of TDA and the Australian Public Training institutions, we really believe that the cooperation we've had with Taiwan over the last years has been wonderful. We are very excited to see every year new partners and new international representatives join the discussion and to create these new linkages. So I really thank the WDA and all our participants for this opportunity to connect and to discuss and to think about new ways forward. So thanks very much for your all wonderful contribution, and I look forward to further fruitful cooperation. Thank you.
Hey, you are being diplomatic. So we are talking about how this serious environment challenge threaten our jobs, threaten our skills and our future. Maybe next time. I'll let you off hook today. Okay. Today, I've been through a very meaningful and compact discussion that, on the one hand, COVID-19, technology advances, population crisis, environmental crisis, and weak and vulnerable women and the less advantaged people are all under same threat, that we need to have a solution together, or else we have no solution at all. So, since we all live on this planet, so different people provide their experiences on how to cope with how the government come in and helped to cope with this crisis, and how measures been taken so that to upscale or rescale our labors, and how industry have a share in this endeavor. I think all these efforts are based on one assumption, that the human race, through their resilience and their adaptability, that we can somehow, with these measures and help, sort out a solution. Because at this moment, we don't know what is ahead of us and what will come and how are we going to respond. No one can tell. But we need to believe in our ability, resilience and adaptability. I steal this from Delora, that in the long run, we can come through. This is not a one-shot event. We need to constantly adjust our position and to readjust our position to face this crisis. And Delora has pointed out that many of us coming from the public sector or NGOs, that maybe firms, industry, we need to invite them to participate more. PPP may be a future solution as well. To upscale and rescale, we cannot let the firm outside our picture. They need to come in as well. It's been a wonderful session. I learned, benefit greatly, and you've been a wonderful audience as well. You're all here. That in many of the sessions, that only the commentator, chairperson, and the panelists are around, but we have still a room for a person. So, with no further ado, that I thank for this meaningful exchange, and I'm looking forward for the next endeavor. Okay, if without any further question, our session will adjourn. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, our applause to thank our chairman and our panelists online and on-site. Thank you for your participation. Thank you very much. This concludes our Skills Transformation for Post-Pandemic Workforce International Forum. Thank you once again. Have a good one, ladies and gentlemen. 如果您有停车的话，请洽饭店的人员，我们帮您消磁。Thank you very much. Thank you. Looking forward to our next gathering. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. If you're parking beneath this hotel or at the parking lot nearby, please go to the hotel staff and they will give you free parking. I promise, the parking is free. Yes.
孙姐，你的这个嘞？孙姐，你的这个嘞？